I can't say enough about Rich and his commitment as well to Farm Bureau, but I can say that my predecessor and I had a great strong relationship. Stanley Reed. Charlene's here, stand up. Rich and I have had that same kind of relationship. He's always been right there, and we have worked together as president and vice president. We've worked together to do all we can for our farmers and ranchers in this organization, this strong, powerful organization. The role of president may be held by a single person, but that's not the extent of it. First, I'm going to say that with pride that the role encompasses my family, and especially my wife, Thelma. She's always right by my side. And during the last 20 years, she's always been there to support me and help me. That makes a huge difference, doesn't it? So I know Rich did, but I want to thank her, the love of my life. Thelma, please stand again. Also, I've had the support of a great board. I'm serious with you. Those that when I came onto the board and stayed through there and have changed those positions, all of them, all the way up through that, the whole board has been very, very supportive of me as president and as Rich as vice president as well. The state board is the kind of board that you want any organization to have. The kind of board that looks at all the issues and then makes the decisions for the organization that needs to be made. I'm going to ask the state board, the sitting state board right now, to stand up. Please. And now I want to ask all of those state board members that are no longer state board but have been, and most of them I have served with them on that board. I want all of them to stand as well. Let's recognize them. I can tell you, and they'll all attest to it as well, that it takes a lot to sit on that state board and make the decision that needs to be made. And there's going to be a lot of times that you need to be in the field or out in the pasture land or in the barn with the cattle or all of that you'll have to put aside and go to your duties on the state board. It's a sacrifice, I promise you that it is. It's a sacrifice. And so I appreciate all of them and what they have done for agriculture and for the board and for the whole organization. The theme of this convention is Let's Get Growing. As farmers and ranchers, that shouldn't be that hard for us, right? That's what we do every day, isn't it? We grow. We grow things, don't we? So that's what we're all about. Now, we're not talking about growing membership. Yeah, it's important for us that we have members and continue to grow in that membership, but that's not exactly what we're talking about here at all. We're talking about growing in our advocacy for all of agriculture. All of agriculture. This organization represents every segment of agriculture and every producer, every farmer and rancher in this state the same. We're talking about growing in our advocacy for all of agriculture. We also need to be growing as hard as we can to make non-farm people understand what we do and how we do it. We have the safest, most affordable, most abundant supply of food, fiber, and shelter than any other nation around this globe. That's what farmers and ranchers do every day. We also got to realize, and we got to grow, how important what we do is, and let them people understand what that means to their everyday lives. I've been to several other countries. In fact, Sam and I counted them up the other night, and I've been to 29 other countries. And I have never seen, and we go to the grocery stores, and Rich and I, we've gone to the markets in China, Governor, and saw that. We've been in Japan and went to their markets and what they have. But you won't find the great variety, the abundance of the food, fiber, and shelter that we have in our nation. In the last 20 years, we have continued to grow our advocacy for all of agriculture and for the support of our members. Our members are important, and we are always there for them. We help them to protect their lives, and we're out there producing on our farms and ranches so they'll have something to sit down at the table and eat. We still have to maintain our mission statement. We're not going to change any of that. We have to continue to fight for the right to farm. I'm going to say that again. We have to continue to fight for the right to farm. We should have the opportunity and the privilege to go out on our land and to farm that land the way we want to. I'm not talking, we can't break the laws. That's not what we're talking about. And we want to take care of the environment. You know, we make our living, don't we? From the water, the soil, and the air. That's what we make our living from. In the last 10 years, we have done more to reduce our carbon footprint than any other industry in the world. Agriculture has. Agriculture annually emits 500 tons of carbon. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But we also sequester over 700 tons of carbon annually. So we already got a surplus there, hadn't we? We're sequestering more than we emit right now. And that's not even including forestry. So we would be way above that when we take into consideration how much forestry sequesters carbon out of the air. In this organization, we are not doing everything the same way we did it 85 years ago, are we? Over our history. We still have to maintain our mission statement and continue to fight for the right to farm. We have to be courageous to change. It's difficult. Y'all out there that are my age, you understand how difficult it is, don't you? To make changes sometimes. I'll never forget. I bought a Ripper Hipper. How many of you run a Ripper Hipper? Had Dad in the truck with me. Went out there and got out, and I had the tractor running with the Ripper Hippers on. I said, "Hey, how you like that? Man, that's working good, isn't it?" He said, "Well, tell you one thing. I don't want it on any of my land." So you see, sometimes it's hard for us to change, isn't it? It's hard for us to change. We have to be courageous to change. But not our fundamental beliefs. We hold to those. Not our grassroots. Not our grassroots foundation. That's what this organization is all about. It's grassroots. Arkansas is a rural state. And it's important that every one of you, all of our farmers and ranchers are involved in what we're doing and how we're doing it so we can keep this organization strong. And we represent every one of them. We're not. Our policy comes from the grassroots up, from every one of your counties. Our policy comes all the way up through that until when what we'll do here on Friday is that we'll set our policy for the next year. And that policy will not be deviated from. Grassroots foundation. Or we won't change anything of the core of this organization. But we do have to keep up with the ever-changing world around us today, don't we? If we don't, we'll be left behind. We have to keep up with that. We do have to keep up with the way that we communicate with our members and our non-farming public are those people that buy and consume what we raise and grow. That's where we have to continue to keep up with. We have to get our message out there that we're doing it a safe way. We have to get our message out there that we are concerned about the environment just as much as they are. And we're going to do everything we can to preserve it. Because that's where we make our living. So we have to continue to get into that position that where we can communicate with those who are buying our products and using them and sustaining them through their lives. Now there will be rocks in the road ahead of us, won't there? Now the rocks can be stumbling blocks or they can be stepping stones. It all depends on how we use those and how we react to those stones. That's why we need Farm Bureau to stay strong and grow. Farmers and ranchers don't give in very easily, do we? But we all stand strong when we stand together. And I didn't know you was going to do that video, and I said the same thing in that, didn't I? That we stand together. But we can't say that enough. It's extremely important. We have to stand together. That's what our grassroots leadership is all about, isn't it? Standing together. By ourselves, we're in jeopardy. But when we stand together and stand strong, we can hold it together. When we all stand together, that's when those stumbling blocks become stepping stones. I'm an incurable optimist. My wife will tell you that. But I know that God's in control. He's in control of everything. In Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 8, he says, "The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouse, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." It's in His hands. And God blesses us, doesn't He? In our farming and ranching. We have a lot of trade issues to deal with right now. A lot of trade issues. We're going to have a trade workshop Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Be sure and be there. Veronica Nye is going to be there from American Farm Bureau, and Scott Vanderwall is going to be there. I don't know if he's here in the building yet or not. Is Scott out here? There he is. Let's give a hand for Scott, Vice President, American Farm Bureau. His lovely wife, Michelle, too. Michelle, is she with you? There she is. There we go. But we have a lot of trade issues that we're dealing with. We're dealing with, Governor, our 4 largest trading partners right now. Our four largest trading partners when it comes to agriculture is number 1, Canada, number 2, Mexico, number 3 and number 4 flip back and forth. Right now it's probably Japan is number 3 and China number 4. We're going to get that China thing fixed and we're going to get it back in where it should be. But those is what we're dealing with. Canada and Mexico with the USMCA. How many of y'all realize that United States, Canada, and Mexico signed that agreement a year and a week ago? And we still hadn't ratified it. Mexico has ratified it. Canada says they're waiting on us. But we need to get that job done. We need to get that agreement done. We need to get it done. That's our 2 largest agriculture trading partners. Japan, we have dealt with them, and we have what we call probably the first stage, so to speak, of an agreement, a trade agreement with Japan. Now, all of you remember that we had an agreement that we were dealing with called TPP, right? We pulled out. The rest of the countries set up the CPTPP, and now they have an agreement. So we have to work hard for at least bilateral trade agreements with those other countries. It's important to us. Trade is extremely important to us. God has blessed us with a lot of natural resources so we can produce more food, fiber, and shelter than we need. And so we need to capture these markets around the globe and also help feed those people around the globe that do not have enough food. But that's what we deal with, and that's what we're dealing with in trade. And we'll have a lot more to that tomorrow morning. I'm going to tell you one thing, and I was going to wait till tomorrow, but I'm going to have to talk about this anyway. Ambassador Dodd was at the policy summit that we had. And he made an analogy. He said we were dealing with China, and talks were going on, and everything was looking pretty good, so to speak. And what he said is it's like bass fishing. We got a big bass on the line. And the bass is just circling the boat. He's on the line, but he's just circling around the boat. All we like is getting that bass in the boat, right? Well, in May, the line broke. Bass got away. That's what it's been with China. They had an agreement that they was going to meet in Chile. Then they decided they couldn't meet in Chile, and they weren't going to meet in Chile. Now they can't find a place to meet. But we have seen some improvements in China. They have announced that they are going to start buying poultry products from the United States. And all you poultry farmers out there know what we're talking about. We're talking about chicken paws, right? But that market, the way they've introduced it and the way they've agreed upon, the Chinese, the way they're moving into it, is it could end up being $1 billion to the poultry industry. So we see, but we've got to get everything else on board, too, with China. It's important to us, extremely important. We are selling some soybeans to them as well. And also pork. You know, they've got the African swine fever there. And that's another issue. We just got to be careful. The African swine fever is in Europe right now, and it came out of Russia through feral hogs into Europe. So we're going to be real careful. We got to continue to look at that and work on that so we can get that taken care of. Another issue that we face, a lot of you heard me say this because I said it at the county annual meetings that I spoke at. One of the things that we've got to work on and continue to work on is truth in labeling. Rice, Mr. Hillman, comes from a rice plant off of a rice farm. Not from cauliflower. Beef, all you beef producers out there, meat producers period, beef is not made in the lab. Beef comes from healthy, farm-raised animals. All the meat come from healthy, farm-raised animals, not from the lab. And the last one's really a ringer. Almonds do not make milk. There's almond juice, and I know a lot of people are lactose intolerant, and that's fine, that's great. But let's label it what it is, not what it's not. As I stand before you today with a humble heart and a humble mind, overwhelmed and fortunate to have served for the past 20 years, 4 as a board member, 5 as vice president, 11 as president. I am humbled at having that opportunity. A young man from Lost Cane, Arkansas, can be the president of Arkansas Farm Bureau. Jeremiah 29 and verse 11 says, "For I know the plan I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." That's what I have for this organization. We definitely have a future. We got to keep it strong. One of the reasons that Farm Bureau is so strong today is the work of our Executive Vice President, Warren Carter, and I want him to stand, and our great staff, all of you. Please stand. As farmers and ranchers, we're busy on our farms and the work that needs to be done for Farm Bureau. Now, we're always there participating, but our staff and Mr. Carter all are on top of it all of the time. It is my hope that you strengthen your commitment to Farm Bureau. I'm not going to be president, not running again, but I'm not leaving Farm Bureau. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. We got to help to make this organization as relevant tomorrow as it has been since its founding in 1935. We got to keep it relevant. We got to keep it going. We got to keep it strong. And we do that by what? Working together. Thank you, Farm Bureau members, for your unbroken trust, for your willingness to stand with us, and for your support for Arkansas's largest industry, agriculture. To serve as the president of Arkansas Farm Bureau has been an honor and a privilege that has overwhelmed me with appreciation, gratitude, and love. It has meant more to me and to Thelma and to my family than you will ever know. God bless you and your families. God bless our farmers and ranchers. And God bless Farm Bureau.